Allison Brie and Dave Franco, who are going to star in this movie together, which is high on my radar. I want to see this movie like you read about. It looks amazing. The trailer looks sick and demented and twisted and crazy. So then just a week after we get the trailer 2, we get this news that they are being sued because basically copyright, or they stole the idea from somebody else. Let me read through this real quick, and I'm going to get you guys' opinions on this. I don't even know if you guys know about this. I think you probably do. Allison Brie and Dave Franco hit with a copyright lawsuit over the movie Together, stole virtually every unique aspect. Insanity. Allison Brie and her husband Dave Franco show up together in a lot of things, including a recently filed copyright infringement lawsuit over.
That is nice awesome, including court.
The movie, the first feature from director Michael Shanks, stars Brie and Franco as Millie and Tim, a fictional married couple who are drifting apart, but as the story progresses, they become closer than ever in a literal physical sense. The film in theaters July 30th sold for a reported $17 million after a bidding war. So there's a suit filed on Tuesday. Reporters Jess Jacqueline and Charles Beale allege Together is a blatant ripoff of their 2023 independent film Better Half, which I looked up a trailer for Better Half. I didn't see one on YouTube anywhere. Shut up, Levi. Stealing several plot and thematic elements, including the central concept of a couple who wake up to find their bodies physically fused together. Jesus, this what's up, Levi? Yeah, that's pretty much all I need to read about the story. I don't know, like what do you guys make of that? Will this hurt the film from even coming out?
No, if anything, this just gave it press. If anything, you just gave it more press. So congratulations. Yeah. Here's the thing, and I'm curious to see what you think about this, Davey. I think that it sounds very convenient that like, oh, we had this independent film that nobody knows about, that probably didn't make a dent anywhere. And now this one sold for 17 million is probably going to be a pretty big hit. I mean, this is one of those movies that I could see being like The Substance or Companion or something like that kind of sneaks up on people and they're like, wow, this is really good. And it makes, a hefty profit. And I think that whoever these people are, maybe they see that and they're like, maybe there are aspects that they took from it, but at the same time, it's just like, I mean, who's really to say? How many times do you see lawsuits like this happen? I mean, we were just talking about Friday the 13th. That's different, but I feel like anybody will jump at the opportunity to be like, hey, you took this idea from me, and anybody can get a fucking court date, get an attorney and go to court. It'll probably ultimately get thrown out. That's what I think. But I think if anything, it gave it more press. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking here the only way they really have a leg to stand on is if they can prove that the producers or people involved with Together like knew about this. If they have like correspondence with them, if these people tried to pitch their movie or sell their movie to somebody that's involved with Together, that would be the only way that I could see them saying, look, they had full knowledge of it. This isn't just an accident that they made a movie that has similar themes, because that just happens in art sometimes anyways. But also I think that they're just like, can you just give us a little settlement and we'll shut up and you can put your movie out? So that it kind of seems like that a little bit as well. Because I looked up the Better Half movie and I couldn't really see anything about it either. So it's odd. I mean, at some point somebody went up to those people that made that movie and said, hey, you might have a case here. That's what I would imagine, or else they wouldn't have said anything at all. I agree with you. I mean, this movie looks really interesting. I love that Alley Girl says every time I see that preview and he says, I love you, and she says K. Yeah, we've all been there, right, Allie? I think that's a moment in the trailer where I was like, ooh, you got
to do the Harrison Ford, bro. I know.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that this is just, looking for some hush money, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I don't think it's going to stop it from coming out.
No,
unless they have I don't know.
I don't think it would, because because that would hurt the people who have this case that want to make a little bit of money from this. Of course, they would want the movie to come out so they could lay claim to some percentage of the intellectual property. So that's probably the angle they're going for is, hey, we just want like this percentage of what the movie makes, and we'll drop this thing, you know?
Yeah.
Well, also you could look at it like Armageddon and you know, what's the movie?
Deep
that's just like,
Impact.
yeah, Deep Impact.
Yeah.
You didn't see Deep Impact suing Armageddon and vice versa, and they have
Yeah.
very similar plots. I mean, hell, these days most plots, you know, there's so many like you know, movies that have like an alternate movie that has kind of a similar plot. So to take it as far as suing them, like, yeah, the basic idea here is two people blending, you know, joining together.
Yeah.
You could go back to freaking The Thing. There's been other movies where people have kind of like conjoined. So I think maybe it's just that idea, but
yeah. It just happens. There was The Cave and The Descent. There's like, I mean, The First Omen and Immaculate. I mean, you know, like it's, there's all sorts of like, and you know, and let's talk about the substance for a second. There was a movie called The Wasp Woman that came out in the late 50s. Roger Corman produced it. He might have directed it. And it's about a woman. Yes, granted, she works in the cosmetics industry, but she's being aged out. And so she starts using this experimental jelly that she's getting from these wasps that make her look 25 years younger. And then but then it has these terrible, you know, side effects and everything. So it's like, you could look at that and be like, well, that's just like, they tweaked a couple things with the substance. That's just storytelling. Star Wars is the hero's journey, blah, 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 blah. Like, so yeah, they are hoping that whoever purchased this movie for 17 million bucks after the Cannes Film Festival just wants to make a little money, you know?
Well, Mr. A in the chat says the difference here is that Dave and Allison were offered this film by the director.
I was just going to say that. I didn't know if you guys brought it up, but that is a factor in there. They were actually pitched the idea according to the plaintiff, and they turned it down.
I had mentioned that if they can prove that, there is some connection with the people involved in making together, then they've got legs to stand on. They have to be able to prove it in court. And if they have the receipts, if they've got the emails or recorded phone calls or whatever, recorded meeting or something, then
but even then
could be in trouble.
Yeah, to everybody in the chat, like all that would happen there is they're going to have to cut a deal with this director. Essentially, the movie will still come out. But this director might get damn near most of the profits. But I mean, the movie's still going to come out one way or another. But that's interesting.
I've seen this before, though, like legal things happening, and it could be a situation like when you get lawyers involved. What's that lawyer going to do? He's going to take both scripts. Okay, as a defense, let's go through every page of both scripts. And let's break down the differences. And if they come up with enough differences, then they don't really have a leg to stand on. They might get, they might throw them a bone or something like that. But unless those scripts are like almost like 80% identical or something like that, or maybe even a little less, I don't think it's going to be a big factor, honestly.
There was a big one. JG Michael brings up a good one with Harlan Ellison with the Terminator. For his, I think it was I'm not sure if it was Outer Limits or Twilight Zone or something like that. But there's also, do you guys remember that Michael Bay movie, The Island, with Ewan McGregor?
Yep.
That came out. So that movie, this is, I get goosebumps because that movie was a ripoff of a movie that was made fun of on Mystery Science Theater 3000 called Parts the Clonus Horror. Fans of Mystery Science Theater 3000 brought it to the attention of the guy that made Parts of the Clonus Horror, and he won. He settled out of court with Michael Bay's production company with or whoever it was that produced it, because they had like exact shots and imagery from Parts of the Clonus Horror that they put in The Island, and it was the whole idea of the plot was the same thing, where it's like these people grow up in this utopia. They think the world doesn't exist outside of them. And then they find out, that they're just clones being harvested for organs. So yeah, this kind of stuff happens. If that's true that they had those meetings with, Allison Brie and Dave Franco, then yeah, they could stand to make a pretty penny, and maybe they could make a movie this time that actually comes out that you can find with a Google search.
Yeah. Chris brings up a good point. And happy birthday, Chris, by the way. Chris had a birthday too recently. I think it was a couple days ago. Yeah. Happy birthday, Chris.
Chris, happy belated birthday, man.
Yep.
There you go. Happy
This is,
birthday.
what are the chances this doesn't get a theatrical run and hits just straight to VOD instead of the result of the case? And that is, I think that has happened in the past where movies were supposed to come to theaters, but because of some kind of legal issue, they either didn't come out or they were just finally released to VOD, you know, at the last minute. I mean, sort of like that is the Jonathan Majors type deal where he had so much in the way of court drama and you know, getting in trouble with the lawsuit and everything. And so his movie was kind of shelved for a while, and then it quietly comes out, I think a couple of months ago. And it, you know, if he didn't have the, you know, the issues that he had you know, over the last year, that movie might have fared a lot better. It might have even gotten like Oscar nods and whatnot, but because of his, you know, what happened, that movie just kind of came and went. And they said his performance in the movie was amazing.
I think for me, if I were their lawyer or if I were the party suing, I think that you would be dumb to not let this go to theaters, because I think what you want is the biggest slice of the pie that you can get. So if this is a battle over IP, well, sure, if you settle with Allison and Dave and get $5 million or whatever, cool, that's great. Or you can let this go to theaters where it might make $100 million and you could get 50 million bucks. I mean, you never know. So I don't know. I feel like any lawyer worth their salt in an IP situation where the movie's already made and being marketed, I think what you're fighting for is, hey, we want X amount when this thing comes out. That's
we want this many points of what it makes in the box office.
Well, hello there. You just watched an outrageous clip from the Hit the Bricks podcast. I really hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more clips, you can click here or you can click here. And you can just have yourself a ball, all right? And also follow the Hit the Bricks podcast on Spotify as well. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.